Chum den de jezen jambe yang lai chang ze loi kange lo de demnye tende nye tara nam da ra se jenye tenge jije zikira nige to kara lek bam ze kang dai se pe zuen da ma de men dai dong ai che serve Do tsoi kin lai pu che tar che yen lai chu cho yang de so do tarai ke do nyu mo nye lo le ke kya do yo don ze chi ma re me se dong ai nye ge nye kyen ze ra de nam Dene ta che sai kyun dar so yun den lun zo gya se tebe Chu chai chu tai chung ye jen te dog le me zen jam be yang lai Dang ten che yung lo to wa ye lo de po be na wa ze do so. Good morning, everyone. So now today I have to, finish the 12 links. So I guess I have to focused on the 12 link itself without going astray. I tend to do a lot of detours. I guess I like detour because highway is pretty boring, always straight and you fall asleep. So perhaps detour sometimes is good idea, but we have no much time to do a lot of detour now. Well, next time. There's always next time. All right, so first I would like to just list what are the 12, and then we'll go through the remaining 9 of them. So these 12 links are ignorance, affirmative action, consciousness, name and form, ayatanas, source of perception, contact, feeling, craving, grasping, future existence. Are the 12 of them. Now I have to start from I guess we briefly went through the third link, which is consciousness. Okay, so the fourth link is name and form. Name and form, basically meaning 5 aggregates. So just so that you know, 5 aggregates, again basically meaning body and mind. So from the name and form, it's a person actually we are referring to. I wish I had more time to actually explain, but here basically we are talking about a person. The person is constitution of body and mind, correct? There's always, there are formless formless too, so there's something thing to say, but generally speaking, there's always a body and there's always a mind. Like yesterday Karmapa was saying that in 37 practice of Bodhisattva, Mujitome Zambu says that our body is like a guest house and our consciousness is a guest. explain that. I have to stick and focus to these 12 links. Habits, old habit die hard kind of thing. I think you guys didn't get that, but that's fine. Sounds funny to you, but it actually means person. So what is a person? Person is somebody who has, consciousness, and who has, this body that supports the consciousness. That is what it meant. But as far as consciousness is concerned, there are, 4 types of consciousness. We call the mental, 4 mental aggregates. Then that 4 mental aggregates are all together are named as name, name because they don't have a physical form, so they are named or termed as the name. So, feeling, perception, mental factors, consciousness, 8 kind of consciousness. Then in addition, form, so that's 5 aggregate. Aggregate of form, aggregates of feeling, aggregates of perception, aggregates of mental factors, and then aggregate of consciousness, 8 or 6 or however you may want to count consciousness. But altogether, that is a person. I am a human being, I have a body, and I have a mind. My mind is of nature of, these different mental, mental factors of the perception, of the feeling, of the, 51 mental factors, 8 kind of consciousness of the eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, all that consciousness, But all in all, we are just referring to an individual. What is a person actually? So therefore, name and form. Now, how this come into being is concerned, the 3rd link is reason actually for the existence, for the coming about of the 4th link. And 3rd link was consciousness. Consciousness, here as I said, refers to the, mainly it really refers to this alaya consciousness. And alaya consciousness is a consciousness that which is of nature of all the karmic imprints. All of the karmic imprints of all of the lifetimes are kind of stored in there. It's a storehouse, in fact. So that when we die, what happens is that one of the many karmic mental imprints which is in our mind gets ripened. And then accordingly you take rebirth, correct? So this here is actually the consciousness is connected more to the Bardo, let's say the Bardo state. Now, after when I die, at the end, the dying Bardo, after my dying Bardo process, the dying Bardo is very short. It's about few minutes, I guess, So after when this dying Bardo ceases, my dying Bardo ceases, then where am I? I'm in a Bardo, actually. Of course, when you die, then you're in a Bardo. Unless you, anyway, again, I don't want to say so many things. So they're in the Bardo, this consciousness, that which is conceived, actually, right? We are in the Bardo for some times, depending on how long you stay there. If you enjoy it, I guess you stay longer. But if you don't enjoy it that much, this I'm kidding. Actually, you don't have a choice. I'm just kidding to, make ourselves happier, but there is no choice, in fact. Anyhow, when the time comes, and then when you are conceived, that conception, correct? What is conceived, actually? Mind is conceived. You can't conceive a body. Come on, how can mother conceive a body, So they conceive the mind. And that mind is the seed, right? The consciousness at the time of the birth. That actually is our birth. Our real birth is the conception. It's called Bardo of Conception, actually. Bardo of dying. Of course, then there is the Bardo of intermediate state, the interval. Actually, it's the interval state. Interval between actually living and death. No, living and rebirth. It's an interval there. And yes, so this name and form, actually the name and form is already there, correct? You follow what I'm saying, correct? It's actually already there, because in the Bardo, you are actually a being. You are a being, you have mind, you have your own body, you see. Of course, it is mental body, but still you perceive yourself as the future being who you are going to be. So it's there, but it kind of becomes concrete, this solid concrete body that we have, and they sort of become a little bit of concrete after being conceived in the mother's womb. So then a long story to tell, right? The whole thing. Anyhow, that at that time when I enter my consciousness enter mother's womb through attachment, through aversion, through ignorance, then I stay there and the development happens, correct? But it's not about the development. They're actually kind of connected. It's just basically we're referring to this, time of the conception when I'm conceived. At that time, this mind, consciousness which is being conceived, has these 5 characteristics of the 5 aggregates. Where is form, you may ask, right? Form actually by your mother. Then of course there are all these, the fetus, the development of embryo, however you may call it, fetus or embryo and all that state, that is the development. Oh, then actually I'm explaining the next, right? Anyway, they're connected in fact. So name and form, 4th link is name and form. I hope I explained it understandably. So then along with the name and form, then of course the 5th aggregate is perceived or is being experienced by that individual. So then the 5th aggregate is name and form. Ayatana, correct? Ayatana. Yes, Cheche is Ayatana. Ayatana. Then it's understandable really. Now you need to study a little bit Abhidharma teachings. We call about the inner Ayatanas, the outer Ayatanas. Here we speak about in Ayatana meaning source of perception. Again, there are a lot of different viewpoints from the Southern Tika point of view, from the Vaibhashika point of view, from Chitra Matra point of view, Madhyamika point of view, all of that. But this is a very general understanding of how fetus, how the source of perceptions are developed. So we are speaking about the inner, faculties through which eye sense faculty is, source for eye sense perception, correct? There's perception, but when it perceives the object, there is this medium. The medium is faculty, so to speak. So that's what we are actually pretty much speaking about. So then it's more about the physical development. Here I think we are referring a little bit more about how once when you are in mother's womb, then gradually you sort of take a form. And this I think you guys know better than we, because so and then how this form, they form a form, and through this form how slowly and gradually it takes shape. Right now, it's only from the outset, it's only a shape, correct? Of course, it's not, they don't exactly have ear, nose, tongue, and that. But we can say shape or some sort of shape. It's not yet shaped, though. It's like a drawing, perhaps, not very vague kind of drawing, something that's very vague. It's there. It's not really very obvious. That's my thinking. You're just basically talking about this infant, this baby, when he or she is in the mother's womb, then how our this shape of the body shape, along with that how the faculties are gradually developed, is actually that process. So these things are easier to understand. And then up the 6th is contact, and 6th is contact in the sense contact, in order for this contact to happen, 2 things are must actually. First thing is first thing is this fourth, yes, fourth link. No, fifth link, right? Fifth link. Fifth link, the ayatana is must, because all the aggregates must be completely developed. Okay? The second actually is then it must come in contact with the object, the visual object. Like for my eye consciousness, for it to see an object, you need that object. If there is no object, there is nothing for my eye consciousness to see. So even if there is sense faculty and everything, but because of the absence of the object, there is no contact. Therefore, there is no feeling actually, right? There is no feeling, or there is no perception of the object. The perception of that particular object is born when you find an object out there, like a flower, and then of course you have the sense faculty. Through that, then the perception of that object is developed. I sense perception, we can say that. Then you see the form. Oh, this is, Karmapa. Oh, this is, Rinpoche, and things like that. Any other object, doesn't have to be Karmapa Rinpoche, but oh, this is my friend, and this is so and so. That kind of perception is, born, so to say. So therefore, here we're talking about contact. Contact, generally, the way how we define it is quite easy. It's called the synchronous meeting or coming together of object, sense faculty, and the consciousness. Actually, consciousness is the result. Can you see that? It is the result, correct? It is actually the result, okay? The faculty and the object actually is the cause. They are like cause, condition, and result. But somehow here we are just, in general, we are saying the contribution of all the three together is must. So then it's same with the hearing also. In order to hear something, you have to have an ear to hear, right? Ear, let's say ear. Then of course only ear is not enough. What do you need? Sound. Without the sound, so what does this produce? My ear, when it meets with the sound, what does it produce? Ear consciousness, correct? Ear consciousness is produced. Same thing. Same with the taste, tongue. You need tongue, but at the same time you also need food. What you're supposed to taste if there's nothing to be tasted. So when this food and my tongue meet, at that very moment, the feeling of the taste. Feeling actually, we can actually see it together, but feeling is the next. Anyhow, the taste, that contact, is produced. Contact here is not physical thing. Contact actually is a perception. Okay? Don't think that contact is like these two hands meeting like this. It's not a physical thing. It's actually a perception. Perception prior to the feeling. If we have more time. Okay, so again I have to. Yes, then contact, object, sense faculty, and the consciousness, contact. And thus, then as I said, what do you think happens then? Feeling actually, of course, then you get feeling. I said perception, but the perception was the feeling, correct? So the feeling and perception are, as you can see, are, connected, are actually synonymous, in fact. All the feelings that which we experience, is due to that contact. There is, due to this contact, actually, which is of nature of the blending, the coming together of, yes, these three things, three factors, I must say. So then the feeling of what? Now my eye consciousness comes in contact with an object. Let's say Buddha, okay? I like that because it's kind of neutral. So being Buddhist, as soon as I see that, my eye sees it, then my eye, when it sees it, it actually produces eye sense perception, correct? Because at the same time it also produces the mental consciousness. It's simultaneous. Why did you feel it? You felt it through the eye sense, sense. Your devotion, your trust, all your dharmic faith in you. And that feeling in you is connected with the eye sense perception. So that they are all interconnected. So that is what it meant. We must know, from what I gather, all in you. There's a craving to that too, but these things are important, in fact. Anyhow, so it produces synonymous with this one of the feeling, which we call pleasant, which we call joy, which we call the word suffering. So suffering, pain, anything. You feel aversion to that, resistant. We resist that. We try to resist. And then, let's say neutral feeling. Neutral feeling, we can say ignorance. It's more like, indifferent to that, indifferent to this. It neither produce attachment nor produce aversion. It is a feeling. And it is a feeling of, sad, we feel happy, which we can say is like that neutralized. It can, when the condition come, this nice or something not so very nice, correct? The conditions actually. Any condition and very huge, very profound. Like Buddha says, oh, there's he demeaning that thing, suffering, demeaning, am I right? Or he was not trying to be negative about it, oh, there's suffering. He's just saying that, oh, you really have to understand that you have this feeling, this thing in you, which you think is okay. It's not actually okay. Like, observe properly, then you understand that this is something which can harm you. And so when I look very carefully inside my own mind, I actually understand, oh yes. But when our mind is so very, even the word suffering for us, even though Karmapa yesterday said that, we have to highlight it, all that thing. But I think for some of us, even when you say suffering, we are like, it doesn't move you, at all. Why? Because we are so much used to suffering, we are like stones. You understand? Very cold actually, from that point of view. I'm not saying we are very cold people, but we are like this. When you are so much used to this, many lot of doing bad things, you don't know, you don't understand you're doing bad things. You're like, this is fine, why is bad, for example. But then when some other people see that, they know, oh, this is very bad. But he or she, they got so used to it, it became their life. They have no idea that this is what is killing them, what is destroying them. Actually, that is destroying them, no? Like drugs, gambling, or I'm sorry, but any other thing. So any things like that. See, so we need to look into that, So here also feeling was that I brought it up because I said that that we need to we need to understand these things, because when we say feeling and we what is there to learn about feeling? I don't know about you, but I often kind of think, teaching about feeling, what is there to learn? I know about feeling. Do you really know about feeling? We don't at all, actually. But then yet we think, what? Okay, it's something kind of happiness. It's not about happiness. It's not about suffering. It's about the state of the mind. There's way more, thing to find actually in that. You will find emptiness in that, You find compassion in that. You find wisdom in that. So do you actually really relate these things to feeling? You don't. Like wisdom is a feeling. Compassion is a feeling. But you relate to that? No. So there is contaminated, not contaminated. So many, it is like an ocean. And yet we don't think, what's there to learn about it? What I'm actually trying to say is that we may not have to learn about it from learn it on my own by trying to really understand what this feeling. Grasp has the sense of initial, like progressive transition. So yes, word meaning wise, when we say grasping, you grasp, you hold on to that. That is what it meant. And then hold very strong things.